If we are convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that they have the infrastructure, they have the technology to track consumption, no matter how remote a community is, then we'll be satisfied with the position of the governance forum that accepted 30% based on derivation. But if, on the other hand, the derivation they are talking about is derivation based on generation, where the 30% will be remitted at the end of the period to areas where those headquarters of these companies are headquartered. So definitely I will not be a party to it. My position as a person is to maintain the status quo. The highest I can concede, as far as my opinion and the opinion of my constituents is concerned or are concerned, is to sit 20% based on derivation or based on generation derivation. In other words, wherever these companies have their headquarters, 20% can be given to them, as what we have currently in Section 40 of the current Act that is governing the VAT distribution. But if it's based on consumption derivation and there is enough and adequate technology and infrastructure to track consumption, analyze consumption, and distribute or share them accordingly, then to me it's a very good deal, because there is fairness. Instead of you remitting 30% or 20% to simply because these companies that generated this money or VAT are being headquartered in certain locations, you give them that money. For you to be fair to Nigerians is for you to pay this 30% to where actually the consumption took place. So this is where I'm satisfied. And the second area where I am actually satisfied is there is a consensus among all the honorable members that NIDA is not going to be terminated. NASENI is not going to be terminated. And TET Fund is not going to be terminated, bearing in mind their importance to the national development. Particularly, NIDA has a role to play in even providing technology for effective and efficient implementation of the tax laws whenever it's passed. So there is no way you can terminate the life of an instrument that can facilitate the success of a reform. Thirdly, on the issue of the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Revenue Service, when passed, or the current FIRS, to be the chairman of the board is completely not fair and is completely not right, because, as said by writers, power corrupt absolute and absolute power corrupt absolutely. You cannot be the chief executive officer and at the same time you are the chairman of the board. In other words, you cannot be a judge in your own case when and wherever the need arises. Then the fourth issue, where we have accepted to even allow the bill to be read the second time, is for us to extract a commitment, as earlier presented by the leader of the House, on the fact that we are not going to increase VAT, either now or in the later, or in the next 2 or 3 years. Definitely there is nothing like increasing the VAT, but we are all on the same page that the provisions in the reforms can help us in improving on our collection efficiency ratio, which is very, very important. Then the last one is identification of where the bill is in contradiction with the provision of the Nigerian Constitution, because Constitution is supreme above all other laws of the Federation. Section 141, subsection 1 that speaks about the supremacy of the Act has given the Act a position of the Constitution, which there is no law that can be as powerful as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And at the risk of sounding selfish or immodest, I totally reject the issue of inheritance tax as may be imputed in the family income tax. Not only in Islam, in all religions, including our traditional religion, nobody take for granted the estate of a deceased. So either in Christianity or in Islam or even in traditional religion, people protect with high sense of responsibility and obligation the estate of a deceased person when and wherever the need arises. Particularly in Islam, you are not even allowed to take even a packet of pure water out of inheritance and give it to somebody that is not the heirs or entitled to that particular inheritance. So the issue of collecting tax out of what somebody left behind for us is against Islam, and I believe it's against a lot of practices in other religions for somebody to touch that, of which we are ready to maintain that. And I want to put this in record. What we did today is not end or is not final. This is more or less the second stage in the process of passing this bill. The first stage is when the bill was read the first time, when the Speaker read the letter presented by the executive. Then the second stage is for the bill to be subjected to debate, where the basic principles of the bill will be discussed. Members will be allowed to express their views, ventilate whatever they have in them for or against the bill. And it's part of the process for the bill to be read the second time, so that you will not end up throwing the water, the baby with the bath water. So at the end of the day, it's going to be referred, as you see today, it's going to be referred to the appropriate committee, which is the House Standing Committee on Finance. Then the House Standing Committee on Finance is going to organize a very extensive and wide consultation by doing public hearing, inviting all relevant stakeholders to make their submissions and to come in person and make their presentation during the public hearing. Different opinions from different stakeholders across the country can be accepted during the public hearing, after which the committee is going to harmonize the report received or memos received during the public hearing, and at the end of the day, they make the presentation of the report on the floor of the House for consideration. And it's the responsibility of the 360 members representing the 36 states of the Federation, representing 360 federal constituencies, to consider the bill on clause-by-clause session, where each clause will be considered by members by a voice vote before having a clean copy that can be transmitted to the executive for assent. So members, Nigerians should understand that by doing the second reading, that does not mean it's the end of the bill. We are on the second stage, and we still have about 2 stages or 3 to cross to make it a law. 1, public hearing. 2, reporting stage. 3, clause-by-clause consideration. For it to become a law, it has to be transmitted to the president, and the president have to sign it. After assenting to it, then it becomes a law.
Thank you.